We are back. Welcome to Access. I am Ken.
I'm Nicole.
And we've come to you with the Book of Job and wisdom literature. Nicole and I both give a golf clap for the Book of Job. Yes. Nicole and I were just talking. We love the wisdom literature.
Love it.
Your Old Testament, you've got the Pentateuch, the first 5 books, then the histories, which we just finished up with Esther, and then we start this fascinating collection called the wisdom literature.
Yeah.
Nicole, tell me, what do you love about the wisdom literature?
What don't I love about it? I love that it has every range of emotion. Like, everything you've ever felt is in the wisdom literature, from your highest highs to your deepest lows, and that is not scared of those lows. You know, I feel like in the church so many times we gloss over the junk in our lives, where we say we're fine, and that when things are really going bad, we're scared to really shake a finger at God.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what you're supposed to do, because that's a...
And really to even include God into that part of
right.
our lives.
Or that people think, I remember, like, I had a long period where I was really mad at God. And it was during seminary, which is not the best time to get really pissed at God. And a lot of people were like, wow, you're really having a crisis of faith. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I know who I'm mad at.
Yeah.
There's
That's,
like...
that's a great answer.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not mad at the air. I'm mad at God. I'm not doubting whether or not he believes, or whether he exists. And I think people take anger or displeasure with God as having a crisis of faith. And I think it could not be further from the truth. Because you can't be mad at something you're not sure is there.
You bet.
You know?
Yeah. And the other thing I think we talked about that we both share a love for is if there are simple answers to hard questions in the text, you will not find them in the book of the wisdom literature.
No.
The wisdom literature takes all of the platitudes and the simple ways of thinking, like, for instance, God rewards the good people that do all the right things, and God punishes the wicked people who stay out on Saturday and don't go to church. Yeah. And the wisdom literature is that person who looks at reality and goes,
no.
That doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, our whole sense of religious justice is thrown out the window in the wisdom literature.
Yeah. And it's what makes it easy then to be a person of faith and a person who lives then in the real world. And honestly, I'd almost say you can't be a person of genuine and deep faith unless you go through the wisdom literature and get that sometimes bad things happen to folks who are doing just fine.
Yeah.
And are nice people and are good. Bad things happen. And if you cannot accept that, then I think faith, you will lose faith at that point.
Right.
And wisdom literature is an area that can help us as we are all wrestling. Because I would say, I mean, that's not something you figure out easily or quickly. I think most of us have to kind of wrestle with it our entire lives.
I don't think it's anything that you can also fake. Like, you have to actually go through those valleys of the shadow of death. Which is from the wisdom literature. That's from Psalms. Yeah. Like, you don't learn this kind of spiritual maturity in Sunday school.
That's right. In fact, I would say one important distinction I learned, it's the distinction between a problem and a mystery. I don't know if you've kind of heard this language. I think it's helpful. A problem is something that is finite. It has a solution. You can learn the answer to it and you can fix it. A broken arm. That's a problem. We know how to set it. We can fix that problem. But a mystery, on the other hand, is something that is infinite, and there's no easy answer or way to figure it all out. There are multiple pathways through it.
There's no tidy conclusion.
Like heart disease. People will say heart disease is more like a mystery, where there could be multiple factors. Could be genetics, could be diet, could be exercise, and then there could be things that we don't even know. And it takes a much more mature, mind to kind of deal with that. That is what we get in the wisdom literature, where we are not dealing with things that are simple and easy anymore. No. We're dealing with things that are hard.
It's all shades of gray.
Why do bad things happen? Why does evil? That is not an easy thing to figure out.
No.
And anyone who tells you that there's an easy answer, run the other way.
Yeah.
Because that's someone who either doesn't know what they're talking about or is lying to you.
Take them off of speed dial.
Defriend them on your Facebook.
Do a limited profile. Like, that's not who you want to go for counsel.
So, we should go to Job. We're excited. Job authorship is very interesting. We, again, and this is going to hold true for a lot of the wisdom literature. Traditionally, the wisdom literature is attributed to Solomon, or much of it, the Psalms are attributed to David. And some of that may be true. We don't really know, and with Job, it's even more complicated, because we certainly don't know who the author is. It seems to have an Edomite context. Edom is a country that's near Israel. Job is an Edomite, and the Edomites seem to be favorably mentioned. So they think it might have kind of an Edomite origin. But the story itself, which is the story of a persecuted righteous man, so a good guy who's done everything right, and everything is going wrong for, that is a classic story in the ancient world. There are 2 books in the Babylonian library that are called kind of Babylonian Jobs. The Egyptians have similar stories about this. They're all trying to figure out, they're all trying to answer the question, how is it that you can be doing everything right and then still have really, really terrible things happen? What is the justice? What is the meaning of all of that? And so in some ways, Job is the Hebrew Bibles, it takes those stories that are all out there in the Middle Eastern culture and then puts a peculiar Hebrew spin on it, which it's kind of a cool thing to do. So I'd say that's good for authorship. History, like what's
I don't know. There really isn't.
It's not a historical book.
Yeah, it doesn't have any set context. There's
no, we don't know when it happened.
Yeah, there's no in the time of Judges. There's no mention of. There's no reference points for it, like no historical reference points of kings or power or anything. But I think that's why it's so great, is because
it's timeless.
It's timeless, and I think Job is also cast as an everyman character.
Very much.
And what I think is really interesting is that it's what every man thinks that he is. Because everyone, when they are going through something terrible, thinks, wasn't I good enough? And thinks of themselves as one of the good. No one says, yep, I am pretty wicked. I should be getting this
speeding ticket.
I should be getting this tsunami of junk in my life. No one thinks that. In your years of pastoral ministry, anybody come in and said, wow, I really did deserve this?
Well, there are people who feel terrible about themselves, and that's kind of almost another problem. Yeah. This is not Job's problem.
No.
No, it's more, I think of Job like, sometimes I've been known to speed a little bit. I don't know, And then it will never fail. If I ever do get stopped, I was stopped going out hiking a while, years ago back. He didn't give me a ticket, which was nice. But I was actually kind of frustrated and annoyed that I got stopped. There's no reason for me to be frustrated and annoyed. I was speeding, and I have sped quite often sometimes. But it was sort of like, this isn't fair.
No, I'm a pastor. Why is this happening to me?
And I think you're right that we see ourselves like Job. We see ourselves as like, this is not fair.
Yeah, but when you look at the person that Job is, he is totally sassy. He's not what you would consider, or not what people would think of as like the good Jew. Yeah. Like, he is much more complicated and complex and so much more real than this kind of saintly martyr. Yeah. This victim of the whole thing. Because
the patient Job. You were saying earlier, why do we call him patient?
It's like the most ridiculous thing ever, because he's not patient at all. He just has a lot of stuff happen to him.
And he gets, to chapter 3, and he's already cursing his own life.
Yeah. Well, then let's get